Although Intel's 8th generation of CPUs launched a few months ago now, up until this point we've only been able to buy Z370 motherboards. While Z370 is required for overclocking K SKUs of Coffee Lake CPUs, it makes less sense if you want to buy a non-K CPU, like the i3-8100 that I've got here, as you're basically forced into buying a board with a high-end chipset. At last, this has finally changed, with the release of motherboards featuring the H370, H310 and B360 chipsets. There should finally be some better priced options available for these sorts of 8th gen chips. And to kick things off, we're going to be checking out the B360 Gaming Pro Carbon motherboard from MSI. My first impressions of the board are that it looks nice and clean. The whole thing is a matte black and it's got a carbon fiber texture on the various heatsinks. There's some RGB lighting towards the back, around the chipset cover, and on the right hand side of the board. There's over 25 effects which can be controlled through MSI's Mystic LightSync software. But you can always turn the lighting off if you prefer. It's an ATX board and comes in at 30.4cm by 24.3cm. Starting with the I/O, there's a good old PS2 port, 2 USB 2.0 Type A ports, a DisplayPort 1.2 output, USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type A and Type C port, HDMI 1.4, 4 USB 3.1 Gen 1 Type A ports, Gigabit Ethernet, 5 audio jacks and optical SPDIF out. There's also red lighting for the Ethernet port and the 2 USB ports next to it when it's powered on, and the I/O shield is MSI's black and red. At the center of the board is the LGA 1151 socket, which supports Intel Coffee Lake based CPUs, and I'm testing with the i3-8100 here, as I figured this would be a better match for the board compared to my 8700K, which is what I've usually got in the PC, so that's the only reason the Fractal S36 is cooling it, which is completely overkill for the 8100 of course, but I digress. Next to the socket are the 4 RAM slots, which run in dual channel and can support up to 64GB of DDR4 memory at 2666MHz. If you're rich enough to afford that much at today's prices of course. In my system I'm just running 2 8GB sticks. The speed depends on the CPU, so i5 and i7 chips can run at 2666MHz, while the i3 CPUs like my 8100 here run at 2400MHz. As for the PCIe 3.0 slots, from the top down there's a 16x slot, 1x, 4x, and 2 more 1x slots, with support for two-way crossfire. No mention of SLI though. There's 2 M.2 slots available, one above the PCIe slots which can take slightly longer cards, and one a bit lower. They both use 4 PCIe lanes. However, if the lower one is in use with a PCIe-based SSD, the third PCIe slot of the board will not be usable, as there's less PCIe lanes here when compared to Z370. Speaking of the differences with Z370, there's also no RAID support here, which I think is a limitation of B360 in general. Along the top there's the 8-pin power connector, CPU fan and pump headers. Along the right hand side there's 6 SATA 3 connectors, internal USB 3.1 Gen 1 and USB 3.1 Gen 2 Type C connectors. Perfect if your case's front panel supports USB Type C, 2 system fan headers and the 24-pin power connector. Finally along the bottom there's the front panel audio, RGB connectors, a couple more system fan headers, TPM connector, a second USB 3.1 Gen 1 connector, and 2 USB 2.0 connectors. To boot into the BIOS, simply press the delete key during boot. I found it fairly easy to navigate through and make changes, and I had no issues while updating to the latest version noted here, which is what I was testing with. And that basically sums up my experience with the board. Everything just worked for me as expected with no issues. As for the pricing, I've been advised that the B360 Gaming Pro Carbon motherboard comes in at 209 Australian dollars, so about $150 US for my international viewers. But we pay more for stuff here in Australia, so it may be a bit less in the US. As I'm making this video just before the release, I don't currently have full details on what other options will be available. However, I expect there will be lower priced B360 boards. The combination I've got here doesn't really make the most sense, given the board costs more than my i3-8100 CPU. However, it's what I've got to work with for the purposes of this video. You can get some pretty low-end Z370 boards for slightly cheaper than this one. So although I haven't yet seen other B360, H370 or H310 motherboards that will be available, I get the feeling that this one is in a bit of an odd position, and is likely to be one of the more premium options. So if you're looking for that budget board to go with the cheap Coffee Lake CPU, this might not be the best choice for you. However, if you're after some of the bells and whistles without going all out with Z370, then it could be worth considering. In any case, it's great that there's finally more option out there if you're looking at building an Intel 8th gen system, as you no longer have to go with a Z370 board. So overall, I thought the Gaming Pro Carbon was a nice board. It looks great and it's got some fairly good features. But we'll have to wait and see how it stacks up against others. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments, and leave a like if you're excited about these boards finally becoming available. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for future tech videos like this one.